Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to be showing you guys the gameplay here on the ROG Strix G18 for 2023 by ASUS, starring the RTX 4070 gaming laptop. And we're going to show off how the gameplay looks with everything cranked to max. This is Red Dead Redemption 2 with all of the updates applied as of this morning. So let's have a look at what the settings are. So I've got, and the latest settings include some goodies from NVIDIA. So if we look here, I've got everything cranked. We're on the graphics preset is set to favor quality, and everything is cranked to the max, which means ultra texture quality, 16x filtering, and everything else is pretty much to the max. In addition, I've got here, I'm running at the full native resolution of this display. 240 Hertz is the panel's refresh rate. So we're going to try to see how close this gets to that. Probably not very. I've got VSync turned on, and everything else here is otherwise turned off. I've got pause game on focus, may need to alt tab out sometimes, and I've got my handy Riva stats tuner up here so you guys can see the different wattages, the different power levels. This RTX 4070 claims to hit 140 watts on this particular device. I have yet to see it hit that mark. I've only seen it go to maybe 106, 108 watts. So you can see here in the second line, we're hovering at around 93 watts currently. And let's just do a little bit of gameplay. We'll walk around here and show you guys how the gameplay looks. By the way, with everything cranked to ultra, it is stunning. You get some nice fog effects, some volumetric fog. The lighting effects are excellent, the way they cascade off of surfaces. It's not ray tracing, but it may as well be. It's damn close. And as you can see, everything cranked. We're hitting at about 47 FPS. It varies. If you're in more of a static scene, it jumps up to around low 50s. And as I'm moving around, it's somewhere in the high 40s. Let's see if we jump on our horse and how well this plays out. And I've been tweaking this laptop and trying everything to see how I can get it to push that 140 watts that ASUS is claiming. I have yet to find it to be able to do that. Where is my horse? Oh, I hate that you cannot run in the camp. You can only walk at a fast or a brisk pace. Come on, guys. Right, as you can see here, the CPU is doing quite nice, hitting 4.2 gigahertz, 4.1, 4.2, somewhere around there. And all right, get on the horse. How do you get on? I have not played this game in a while, so how do you mount the horse? There we go. E is the magic key. All right, so let's go out here and we'll try to gallop around in the meadows, in the flowers, in the bush, and see how this rains. So the CPU is sitting at about 45 watts. What I ended up trying to do is push it down to 45 to 55. I've adjusted the PL1 and PL2. I'll show that in a separate video, how I tuned my settings for gameplay on this device. But I've got the CPU pegged between 45 and 55 watts, not to go above that. This 13980X can take a lot of juice, and I want to make sure that it's constrained so that all of the juice can be pushed into that 4070. As you can see, we're hitting above 100 watts now, 102, 102, 3, and back down to 98 watts. So, all right, galloping around here in the wide open, it's 54 FPS, not bad. So low 50s is pretty consistent. This game, because it's so graphics heavy, on my old desktop, which was an AMD 5700 XT, had some issues with some screen tearing because it simply couldn't keep up. The frame time was far too high. So 22 milliseconds here, not bad. No screen tearing whatsoever, smooth. I can pivot on a dime. And even if I pan slowly, sometimes when you pan slowly, you get these screen tearing or weird artifacts on the screen. Absolutely crisp. No issues whatsoever. So 55 FPS. Now this is probably an insane resolution to be cranked to while you're doing gameplay here. So I'm going to switch over to something a little bit more realistic that I like to play at. But before I do, I'd also like to mention that all of this testing is performed in the performance mode. I find turbo mode to be pretty useless, but just for the sake of demonstration here, we'll hop into turbo mode for a quick moment. And for about a minute or so, we'll run around and show you guys how the performance peaks. So I've been having some other jankiness with this laptop. I'll cover that in, like I said, the game tuning and, performance optimizations video so you can actually play games on this device. It is a gorgeous screen, and it would be a shame to lose performance on that 4070 and that promised 140 watts. That's 40% more power to this device, so you should at least get a few more percentage points of performance and thus FPS. But as you can see here, it's not really translating to that. So let's jump in here and switch to a more realistic resolution and see how the gameplay is changing. All right, we'll go to graphics And another thing this game now supports, I believe, is DLSS. And if I carefully wander down here, there we go. DLSS is currently off. Let's turn this guy on, leave everything cranked. Quality, balanced, performance, ultra performance. Nope, quality please. We like the eye candy. I know I do. All right, here we go. Okay, now with DLSS enabled, and let's see how it fares. All right, so let's gallop along. 56, 55. It seems to have had no effect whatsoever. I wonder if I need to restart the game in order for the FPS, the DLS settings to take effect and apply to the FPS. Yeah, 55 FPS. It seems like DLS isn't doing much with the quality setting turned on. The good news is there is no noticeable artifacting. It looks excellent. Okay, 63 FPS, 64. All right, that's a fair change. Let's mosey on around. So you can see the GPU handles this very nicely, but I've seen it only hit about, oh, there was a ping there to 115 watts. The CPU is now, what? Going beyond the targets? Oh, I must have toggled into turbo mode, which basically threw all of my settings away. Well, thank you very much, ASUS. Okay, I think that'll about do it for this game here. So you can see that it's very close to 60, somewhere between the high 40s up into the low 50s is pretty consistent. I'm going to do a quick reboot here, run back into the game for you, and let's see if the DLSS actually takes effect and if there's any change to frame rate whatsoever. All right. Come on, Mr. Horse. I want to call him Roach, but I know that's from The Witcher 3. And we're back. So now that we've got the DLSS settings applied, let's see that they have indeed taken effect. And I've chosen the quality preset with DLSS. And let's see if there's any change to our frame rate whatsoever. So yes, we can see here DLSS is set to quality. Sharpening, I've left it default. I don't really want to mess with that and see what the gameplay is. I'm trying to simulate a more realistic gaming scenario. I don't think many of us have time to sit there and tinker with one setting at a time. So this is generally how I would play the game. Either crank the settings if it's a visual beauty like this, or if it's just a fun game where it's more action oriented and not as high paced, then I won't really bother with that and just go for a high or maybe a very high setting and let it roll. All right, so we can see here that with DLSS applied, okay, so it seems the change is negligible. I'm sitting in the high 50s, and it seems to touch 60 every now and then before it drops right back down to the high 50s. So otherwise, no artifacts. Everything is rendering smoothly. The sky, the lighting effects, everything is fantastic. Oh, here we go. I guess it's a little less intensive, so it drops down to, or jumps up to the mid 60s. Let's see how the water affects the frame rate here with DLSS. Okay, not too bad. All right, I don't want to wander all the way to the lake. Let's try to see if we can change the settings and go from quality to balanced. Does the frame rate improve? That is the question, and I wonder if there's any effect to the visuals that I can visibly see. Okay, now DLSS in balanced mode, so I can see here that I'm at the low 60s now, hovering into the mid 60s on occasion, depending on the scene and the complexity that the engine needs to render. As I head over to this body of water, my GPU is still only around 104 watts. I have yet to see this promised 140 watts that ASUS is claiming. If anybody knows what I'm missing, please let me know. Otherwise, I've basically racked my brain on this for several hours trying to get this to work, running around the armor crate everywhere, and it's just whoops. All right, so we'll wrap it up right here. I think this is a good show for RDR2. I love this game. It's fantastic. The visuals are simply stunning. One day I will indeed finish this game. But for now, that's all, folks. I'll see you in the next video.